So there's a lot packed into that question. Um, Donidalorsen is an antisense oligonucleotide which targets the prekallikrein gene, um, basically preventing prekallikrein from being manufactured, if you will, by the cell. It doesn't change the gene; it just changes the messenger RNA that dictates how the protein is actually made. So hereditary angioedema is a disease of lack of control of a system called the contact or kinin kallikrein system. And one of the key components of that system is plasma kallikrein. Plasma kallikrein is made from prekallikrein. Uh, and once the system is activated and unregulated, the kallikrein helps produce a compound called bradykinin, which is the protein that causes the blood vessels to dilate and to leak and resulting in swelling, which is the manifestation of hereditary angioedema. Angioedema essentially is swelling due to blood vessels leaking. So by knocking out, or not necessarily knocking out, but decreasing the production of prekallikrein, you don't make enough kallikrein so that that system can work. And this is the first time that prekallikrein has been targeted as a potential regulating, if you will, protein in this cascade. It doesn't really regulate, but again, if you don't have enough of it, you can't. The cascade cannot function, if you will. There are a variety of prophylactic medications for hereditary angioedema that hit different parts of this cascade, starting at the top, a drug called garadacimab that knocks out factor 12 that's activated, which is right at, again, the very top of the cascade. We have C1 inhibitor replacement therapy that regulates it not only at the top of the cascade, but also in the middle of the cascade. We have a variety of plasma kallikrein inhibitors that block plasma kallikrein's ability to turn into bradykinin. And in the pipeline are other agents that actually block the effect of bradykinin on the blood vessels. So just about everywhere on this cascade has been targeted by prophylactic medications and some acute therapy for the swelling attacks when they occur. But this is the first one that actually is targeting prekallikrein, again, preventing the cascade from going forward. That's important because there are individuals out there who do not necessarily respond well to the currently available prophylactic medications. So this new mechanism may provide benefit to those who don't respond to other prophylactic medications. Plus, it's also a way to decrease or to control this system with relatively infrequent dosing of a medication. So the patients may be able to dose once every 4 weeks, and once their disease is controlled, then once every 8 weeks, which is the first, again, prophylactic medication with a potential 8-week dosing interval. Yeah, the OASIS trials were the phase 3 trials that got this drug approved basically in August of this year, at least in the United States. They were trials that lasted approximately 32 weeks. There was an 8-week screening period in patients that had hereditary angioedema type 1 or type 2 who were 12 years old or older and who had had 2 or more attacks during an 8-week screening period were randomized in a 3-to-1 fashion to receive either Dawnzera or Donidalorsen 80 milligrams every 4 weeks or Dawnzera 80 milligrams every 8 weeks versus a placebo. And then they were monitored over the next 6 months to looking at a variety of things. The primary endpoint was reduction in attack frequency from week 0 to week 24 in the patients that were treated with Dawnzera every 4 weeks versus the individuals that were just treated with placebo. There were some key secondary endpoints looking at the severity of attacks between week 4 and week 28. I'm sorry, week 4 and week 24. And the reason for starting at week 4 is, again, the way this drug works is it essentially uh, stops the production of prekallikrein, but we all have prekallikrein circulating in our bloodstream, and it takes about a month for what was there when you started dosing Dawnzera to actually be depleted. So you don't really get to a place where the Dawnzera could be effective until about 4 weeks after beginning treatment. The other secondary endpoints were uh, how many HAE attacks required on-demand therapy, and also we looked at the proportion of patients that were completely attack-free between week 4 and week 24. And then there was also a responder analysis looking at the patients that had a greater than 50% decrease in attacks, 70% decrease in attacks, and 90% or more decrease in attacks. So that's how the trial was set up. Now, this trial included individuals from age 12 to over age 65. They were predominantly female, although, and that's basically typical of an HAE trial. Those were Caucasian, Asian, Black, or Indian American. There were other individuals involved as well. The majority had type 1 HAE, and the average age of onset of HAE symptoms for the patients in the trial was actually 12 years. The number of HAE attacks in the months prior to beginning the screening period for the trial was actually 45 attacks, so upwards to 4 attacks a month during the year running up. Then during the run-in period, that continued. Basically, the average number of attacks was 3.6 in the Dawnzera every 4 weeks group, 3.2 in the every 8 weeks group, and a little bit lower, 2.9 in the placebo group. So that was a fairly typical group of fairly severe individuals with hereditary angioedema type 1 or type 2. Now, the results were very interesting. If we looked at the primary endpoint, which was the decrease in HAE attacks between week 0 and week 24, the patients that were on the 4-week dosing interval had an 81% decrease in their attack frequency compared to the placebo group. The individuals that started on the every 8-week dosing interval had a 55% decrease in attack frequency. And both of those decreases were highly statistically significant. If we look at one of the secondary endpoints, which was that period of time when we expected the drug to be working, so week 4 through week 24, the individuals on the every 4-week dosing interval had an 87% decrease in attack occurrence, and the patients on the every 8 weeks had about a 60% decrease in attack frequency. Again, both very highly statistically significant. If we look at other endpoints like severity of attacks, the decrease in severity of attacks for individuals on the every 4-week was an 89%, and with a 92% reduction in the need for treatment of these attacks that occur. There's a 95% reduction in need to go to the emergency room for treatment. In the every 8-week dosing cohort, there was about a 41% decrease in moderate to severe attacks, 67% decrease in attacks requiring acute therapy, and a 93% attack requiring emergency room treatment in that particular group. So both groups were very effective compared to placebo, the every 4-week group being more so, if you will, again, because a more rapid decrease in the plasma kallikrein or the plasma prekallikrein levels. So those were the primary and secondary endpoints of the study. We did also look at one of the guideline goals is for patients not to have complete control of their HAE attacks. So if they could basically have no attacks whatsoever, that's our goal, at least with the current guideline documentation. And in this study, 53% of patients on the every 4-week study, 4-week dosing between week 4 and week 24 were attack free, and about 35% of the every 8-week dosing group were attack free between that week 4 and week 24 of the study. So we're getting actually quite close to that reaching that goal of patients having no attacks at all interfering with their life with hereditary angioedema.